Hi guys, it's Debbie. 2016 is nearly over, so it's time to look back at everything that's been going on this year cinema-wise. So I guess it's time to reward outstanding performances in the world of cinema and also take a look at some of this year's biggest flops. So today I would like to take a look at what I consider some of the poorest performances of this year, so what I consider the worst films of 2016. Obviously, everything I will say in this video is just my personal opinion. Having the same opinion on films or on any other topic is totally unrealistic. There is never a common opinion when we are speaking about films or actors, and that is what makes cinema so special. So I'd really appreciate if you left a comment here below telling me what you thought about my choices and what you would have chosen as the worst films of 2016. And chances are we will probably have completely different opinions, but that's what makes cinema so great. Also, another thing I would like to point out is that I have chosen only high-profile films. So I'll be speaking about huge products which in my opinion have failed. I'm sure that if we all dug deep in the depths of the worst B movies possible, we would find some fantastic winners. But for today, let's focus just on relatively famous movies. I will also upload a separate video in which I speak of what in my opinion are the best performances of 2016, so you'll find that linked as soon as it's available. So let's start with what I consider one of the worst movies of this year, which is Deadpool. Deadpool is a superhero film which speaks of a man which is diagnosed with a widespread form of cancer. He is promised a cure for his illness by a man called Francis, and he is eventually cured from his cancer and develops superpowers, but he is left terribly disfigured. So most of the film is the story of this man, which gives himself the name of Deadpool, seeking revenge against what Francis did to him and to his life. I really don't understand what people like so much about Deadpool. I personally found its plot totally unengaging, over-familiar, and built around a story that made absolutely no sense. This man and his girlfriend Vanessa are totally in love with one another, but still he prefers to avoid her after he is cured because of his appearance, as if she would have preferred him dead rather than disfigured, which makes absolutely no sense. Also, the character Deadpool is supposed to be ironic and tell many satirical jokes and deliver dark humour lines, but instead the film is packed with predictable puns which just weren't funny and unnecessary situations which bring absolutely nothing to the film. There has been such a hype surrounding the release of Deadpool that everything in the film has been blown completely out of proportion, and Ryan Reynolds has been praised as if he had delivered the most outstanding performance ever, which he obviously didn't. In my opinion, Deadpool is not a unique, ironic, satirical film, a small gem in a world of bad superhero movies. When discussing Deadpool, many people that have appreciated the film have come up with the obvious answer, but that's how Deadpool is supposed to be, that's how his character is. But that's not the point. We're not speaking of Deadpool's character. I understand that Deadpool is how he is. It's just how he has been portrayed in the film. You can't just force cheesy jokes and grown reactions in every single scene of the film and then just justify this with, well, that's how Deadpool is. Trust me, the film could have been conceived in a totally different and better way, still with the same character, with the same features, and even with the same actor. I'm not saying that Ryan Reynolds is not a good actor. He's just being praised as if he has delivered the best performance ever, which he obviously hasn't. The next film I would like to speak about is Independence Day Resurgence. Independence Day Resurgence is the sequel to the 1996 film Independence Day, which starred Will Smith. In 1996, aliens attacked planet Earth, and now in 2016, they are back. The problem is, in this film, everything has been blown totally out of proportion. The size of the spaceships and aliens is totally ridiculous. What appears to be a group of randomly selected world leaders take decisions about the world's fate in a matter of minutes without even having the time to consult each other. Also, throughout all of the film, we have never ever the fear of the world about to end. With the 1996 film, we were totally on the edge of our seats, wondering if our heroes would manage to save the world. Instead, in this film, we are just waiting for the moment in which the hero will save the day. And the presence of some of the old characters was supposed to trigger our nostalgic memories, but in no way they managed to make up for the new characters terrible acting. I've spoken extensively about Independence Day Resurgence in another video, so I'll leave that linked if you want to have a deeper analysis of this movie. The next film I would like to speak about is The Boss, the story of a millionaire entrepreneur which, surprise surprise, loses all her money and her credibility and has to live as a normal person in her personal assistant's cheap apartment. So the film is supposed to be full of hilarious situations, and the character of the boss should be annoying but in a productive way to the film. It should bring something to the movie. Unfortunately, Melissa McCarthy just screams her way through the film in such a trashy way that I just had to turn away from the screen. She brought absolutely nothing to the film. She conveyed no emotions at all, yelling pun after pun and just stopping for the most fake laughter. I know her character is supposed to be a bossy, annoying overachiever which just gives everything for granted, and I've noticed that most of Melissa McCarthy's movie characters tend to be loud and inappropriate, but in this case her acting was just unbearable. The plot is absolutely ridiculous, makes no sense, and not even the funniest jokes in this movie saved it from sinking. And now let's bring on stage London Has Fallen, an action film which is the sequel to the 2013 film Olympus Has Fallen. Jared Butler portrays a Secret Service agent which is also a close friend of the President of the United States of America. He is assigned the task of protecting the President during a trip to London to attend a funeral where also many other important world leaders will be present. Obviously, there are massive terrorist attacks in London that day, threatening the President's life. Now, there is a point in the film in which Jared Butler's character comes up with the cliche of everything being too calm. And from that point onwards, the film just sinks into a sequence of ridiculous action scenes which make absolutely no sense, because the citizens of London are invited to remain inside their houses while the attacks are going on. But suddenly, every single person in London absolutely disappears from the streets. We're talking of millions of citizens, tourists, workers, commuters, anybody that was in London in that moment just suddenly disappears. There's not even a twitch in the curtains. There's just complete silence, which is it's just ridiculous. Jared Butler, as usual, seems to be the only person assigned to protect the President. I mean, we do see another couple of agents, but I mean, have you never actually seen the President on the move? We're not speaking just of a couple of people. Also, the ridiculous amount of racial slurs in the film is absolutely unnecessary. I understand that unfortunately there are racist people out there, and it could be that a person like Jared Butler's character in the film could have a hate towards foreign people, unfortunately. And the film is supposed to be realistic and say what he would say in that moment while he is fighting to protect the President. But he comes up with these elaborate sentences and insults which I'm sure even the most racist person couldn't come up in a calm situation, let alone with a terrible terrorist attack going on. So I found this side of his character completely out of place. Also because Mike, his character, doesn't actually learn a lesson in the end. He is always portrayed as the hero, even if we see him unnecessarily torturing people in the film. He doesn't just plain kill them, and he admits this in the film. So I found the film completely lacking of a solid plot. The last film I would like to speak about is Bad Mums, a mother who was overwhelmed by the pressure of raising her kids on her own, working full-time and trying to keep up to the other mothers' expectations. The trailer suggested a lot of hilarious and relatable situations, and we imagined that all of this would be followed by a life lesson about taking some time for ourselves and the people we love. But in reality, it was nowhere even close to this. The plot is absolutely ridiculous, with a mum which is basically a dictator in the kids' school, taking decisions about parents, kids, teachers, and also the principal. And this is absolutely impossible. Now, this would have been fun if the targeted audience were young teenagers and kids, but obviously this is an adult targeted film. So if there had been a more realistic and therefore more relatable plot, it might have been more appealing. Instead, obviously, it made absolutely no sense, and we were supposed to laugh at jokes which were not funny, and also Amy is always complaining but actually doesn't do anything to improve her life. Now, this film tried to appeal to an audience of stressed mothers who were looking for something relatable to have a laugh about, but I'm sure that any mother overwhelmed by her life, her job, would have not found one single relatable situation in this film. The only good part of the film was during the credits when we were shown the actresses with their mothers speaking about their relationship. That was the best part of the whole film. So Bad Moms tried to be a Bridget Jones type of film in which we laugh at relatable situations, these domestic situations which we all know so well, but it completely failed at doing this. So these are what I consider the 5 worst films of 2016. Let me know in the comment here below whether you agree with my choices or if you would have awarded different movies. I hope you enjoyed this video. Make sure you check out my other video in which I speak about the 5 best films of 2016. See you soon, bye!